In one of my last videos, I showed a tool I built called Test Strip, a DCTL that lets you compare exposure, contrast and saturation variations side by side. I built it because I kept finding it hard to judge a grade when looking at just one version of the image. Without a direct reference, it is easy to get lost, meaning you start tweaking things without really knowing whether you're improving the image or just shifting it into a different direction. So I built this test strip DCTL because I wanted a way to compare different versions of a grade side by side. It helps me make decisions faster and with more confidence. And now I've added temp and tint controls to it. So let's get started. So here's an example of how I use the tool using the Isabella test image by ARRI. So this is a very simple node tree. In the last node I go from ARRI log C3 to Rec 709. And in this node I apply the test strip DCTL. I can change the exposure, contrast, saturation, and now the DCTL also has temp and tint sliders. And now if I want to check different grades, I can increase the exposure, for example, and also increase contrast. And I can flip the contrast, so we have less exposure with more contrast. I can also add saturation. And so it is very easy to compare different looks. So I will reset this, and maybe I want to adjust the contrast, adding more contrast here, and then adding temp, and also adding tint, and maybe I want to flip the tint or flip the temperature. And I think this looks pretty interesting. So compared to this image here. And now, once I'm happy with this look, I can grab a still. Then I will enable the DCTL. I will add some nodes. So this one is for exposure and balance. And this one for contrast. So this is my target. And for exposure, I change the gamma to linear gain. Then I reduce luma mix to 0. And I see here the value. So the exposure is at 0, the saturation is at 0, temp is at -10 and tint is at +5. And the contrast is increased at 1.2. So for contrast, I think the pivot for ARRI log C3 is 0.391. Then first I will increase the contrast a bit, something like this. And then, because this is set to linear, I can now use the gain for temp and tint adjustments. So less temperature and more tint. So we'll push this more towards blue and then move it a little bit to magenta. And now I've created a similar look. So maybe not a perfect match, but you get the idea. So instead of using linear gain, I could also use temp and tint here. So less temp and more tint. So it is not perfect because the temp and tint in the DCTL works a bit differently than the native tools in DaVinci. And here another example. First I select the test strip DCTL. And now I can change the contrast, for example, add temperature to the image, or maybe cool it down. And now in this version, I've added more saturation, I added contrast, and I flipped the temperature. So this is a warmer look, and this is a cooler look. And then maybe I want to tint the image a bit. So this is too strong. Maybe something like this. And I think this looks pretty good. And I know what I have to do. Add some contrast, change the temperature and tint to get this look. And there's also an offset slider, so I can adjust the image more to the right and then compare the image side by side. And if you just split it in two, this will be the original, and here on the right side is the version with the checkboxes on. So let's reset this. I set it to 2, then move it to the right. And now I can add more contrast, maybe add more saturation, and then I add temp to it. Maybe I want to reduce it. So I like the cooler look more than the warm look. Add a little bit of tint. And this looks pretty good. You will find more info on my website. There's also a free demo you can download and test with your own footage. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or send me an email. That's it. Have a great day and see you next time.